And there's always a grandma or somebody in the background too grabbing it. Like, let me see. Wow, this is a riot. Let's get the neighbors involved. No, Linda, please, it's been urinated on. Please don't put it on the counter.
That's our probably best well-known song, I would say, and it's always on the set list. He's and probably always will. Well, it always will be. You know.
And again, ironic, like you said, FANG not a money band, but there it is again. See? So
Oh,
it's right at the
right.
core.
Yes. Yeah.
He comes to complete stops, was mindful of the speed limit, pulled over to let an ambulance pass, and even honked his horn when my son pumped his arm. I'm actually late for my blood transfusion, but credit where credit is due.
Item 4, according to Forbes magazine, which of this is the best-selling Ronco product? A, the rotisserie chicken oven. B, Ronco spray on hair. C, the electric baby rocker. Or D, the Ronco toenail recycler. Complain to your mama when she tries to Snapchat. Will you crush on the dance floor or question the format? Still fist fights, still Pepsi, still ready for combat.
The boys ain't.
Make sure you check out Bitch Where Your Friends At.
This is the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.
So let's call this intro 1-800 what the hell.
I saw one of those How's My Driving 1-800 numbers on a truck the other day, and I started thinking, do people ever call with good reviews? Hi, this is a little embarrassing because I never do this, but I had to call and let you know about your truck number 42 and how impressed I am with his driving. He comes to complete stops, was mindful of the speed limit, pulled over to let an ambulance pass, and even honked his horn when my son pumped his arm. I'm actually late for my blood transfusion, but credit where credit is due.
Meanwhile, the operator's like, so you want to file a formal compliment? But the calls keep coming. Also, he breaks for squirrels, popped out to help an old lady in the crosswalk, and he's a true master of turn signals. All of us are speculating, what does his air freshener smell like? The front runner in the office pool is either cinnamon or coffee. Next thing you know, truck number 42 is getting fan mail. Dear Truck 42, your speed bump maneuver saved my marriage. Sincerely, Liz Kowalski, RN.
Before too long, there's a fan club forming on Facebook, Truck 42 Appreciation Society. Honk if you agree. Membership at 47K and counting. They make memes. Truck 42 Photoshop with a crown, a halo, and a sash reading Most Respectful Vehicle of 2026. And of course, the town council hears all about it. They organize a parade, confetti, marching bands, a banner, all hail Truck 42, hero of the highway. The truck even gets a key to the city for courageous turnpiking and regular oil changes.
Meanwhile, the operator's conversations with callers continue to explore new territory. Yes, ma'am. His turnoffs include loud cell phone talkers and mint ice cream. Honestly, I think we could apply the how's my driving to other walks of life. How's my firefighting? Well, I don't think you guys needed such a big ladder since we're only on the first floor, but otherwise it seemed fine to me. You know, it's not an easy job, my line of work, professional toaster oven tester, but it's a living, I guess. Excellent hose work, by the way. Really strong stream, not at all wimpy. Do you guys offer like a punch card system at all? Like 10th fire free? Because at this rate, I'm one faulty extension cord away from a rewards program.
How's my sermon? Father Martin's turn the other cheek theme came through strong. But he wasn't very observant, seeing as one of his altar boys was asleep and the other was playing on his phone the whole time. The story about the man in the rowboat was supposed to be funny, but way too much setup before the John the Baptist punchline. God bless. How about how's my accounting? Well, I'd like to see the receivables closer to the 30-day column. Nice dunking bird, by the way. It's amazing how much error math you do with no calculator. It's like watching an orchestra conductor with a budget for toner cartridges.
We'll close it out with how's my cardiology? Still not clear what a DeBakey forcep is, but otherwise pretty decent bedside manner. And yes, the EKG leads were a little cold. As for the stress test, I'm not a medical professional, but I'm not clear whether being chased down the hallway with a chainsaw is standard procedure. Overall rating, 4 out of 5 ventricles. Could have done without the fist bump. All right, you want to talk about our feature interview?
Our feature interview this week is with the one and only Sammy McBride, OG vocalist for the legendary Berkeley, California punk band FANG. This is a great one, folks, packed with great road stories, punk rock wisdom, a ton of laughs, and we even find out who came up with the phrase, FANG, we're cool, give us money. So stay tuned for that.
All right, let's kick it off. This is from the 1983 classic Land Shark. Here's the title track, Land Shark, go!
What the thing about my activity? Land shark, go! King of the road. Ain't my turn. Land shark, go! King of the road, let's go! That shark will never let you go. When no one's left alive, that shark will survive. Land shark, go!
Okay, let's talk about Patreon. The site is patreon.com/Snaggletooth Podcast, and for $6.66 a month, you get a giant livestock trailer packed with chickens and geese full of Mark and Stace.
Maybe I'll even do one of my smoothie making demonstrations. Today, I made a dragon fruit and pistachio butter smoothie.
That was really good, yeah. Yeah. Very easy drinking, too, you know. Speaking of easy drinking, yeah.
So we have tons of ideas. Mark does book reviews.
I have a feeling I'm going to be getting a lot more of them done over the next couple of weeks, but that's okay. I have no idea why. But anyway, we really need your patronage because there's a lot of great stuff over there, and you really want to jump on board because it's great creative content that's not like anything you're going to get here. And speaking of not like anything you're going to get here, I think it's time. Hit it.
And now it's time for Obnoxious Trivia!
Okay. 0 brain cells will be utilized.
No documentaries looked up.
No. Okay. When competing in the shot put, which of the following situations constitutes a foul? A, wrapping sports tape on the athlete's fingers. B, bringing a towel into the circle prior to the throw. C, allowing the shot to lose contact with the neck during a throw. Or D, dropping the shot put on the referee's foot. Shot put, baby.
Shot put. Well, this isn't fair. This is in the Summer Olympics.
That's right. I'm different.
I don't think that. Why would they allow you not to bring a towel? Seems like you would want to. I think you're allowed to wear tape. I would go with C, allowing the shot to lose contact with the neck.
Very good. You know your Olympic sports. Yes. You have to roll it. You can't, if it loses contact with the neck, it should go airborne as you turn. So,
Wow.
yeah. Who was our shot putter at Bel Air when we went?
I don't
remember?
remember.
When we go to track meets and
Yeah.
stuff, we had a guy.
We did.
I don't remember. Anyway. Okay. Number 2. Which of the following box office bombs was an actual jungle film? A, Dance of the Dwarfs starring Peter Fonda in 1983. B, Dr. Bordeaux and the Giant Nick Pygmies starring Stanley Baker, 1964. C, A Dagger Up Your Strap starring John Ashley, 1957. Or D, Egyptian Promenade starring Bo Derek, 1981.
This is about the jungle?
Mhm.
Dance of the Dwarfs is a jungle film. I'm gonna say not Bo Derek, because she was too big after 10 to... I don't think she would have been in that. I'll go with A Dagger Up Your Strap. Sorry, John.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect.
Uh-uh.
It is actually Dance of the Dwarfs, Peter
Really?
Fonda. Yeah, that was a real movie.
Oh,
Did not do well. You know.
what?
I can't believe you didn't.
Dwarfs in the
I
jungle.
can't believe you didn't go for the Nick Pygmies.
No, I knew as soon as you couldn't get your head out without laughing, that was a you creation.
Yes. All right, you're 1-1. All right, number 3. According to the worldpopulationreview.com, which country currently leads the world in sheep population? A, Indonesia, B, Mongolia, C, China, or D, the United States?
I don't think you have.
Mucho sheepo.
I'll go with the United States. We like our sheep.
That's incorrect.
Oh.
It's China.
Really? I
Mhm.
almost went with that because they have a bigger
We're not even on the
population.
list. We're not even on the
We're
list.
not even on the list.
We don't have enough sheep to save our ass, apparently. All the other 3, Indonesia, Mongolia, China, they're all on the list, but we're not.
Huh.
So, all right, so Now you're one and you're what?
One
Two
for three.
1 for 3. Yeah. Okay. All right. Number 4. According to Forbes magazine, which of this is the best selling Ronco product? A, the rotisserie chicken oven. B, Ronco spray on hair. C, the electric baby rocker. Or D, the Ronco toenail recycler.
These Ronco products at these fine stores.
That's right.
I know someone who uses B, the Ronco spray on hair.
But true.
Gosh, I'll go with the electric baby rocker.
I'm sorry, that's wrong. It's the rotisserie chicken oven.
Really? I thought that was too easy.
No, it's like even if you Google Ronco products, I think they've gotten rid of a lot of stuff. All you see are rotisserie ovens. It's like a little mini Ken Rogers roaster thing. Yeah.
They have
That was his big money maker, I guess. It actually worked.
hard.
I can't believe you didn't go for the toenail recycler.
No,
Come on.
I don't think you recycle toenail. What are you gonna make from cat litter?
I really enjoyed this one. Okay, so this has been Obnoxious Trivia. Oh, I'm a nut for spray on hair. Okay, it's time for our Snaggletoon. And this one we're going to call the Stick Flick.
There are approximately 17 billion pregnancy reveal videos online. It's always the same cinematic universe, soft lighting, music adjacent piano that suggests we're in for an appeal from UNICEF or even the National Coalition for Bullied Ferrets.
The wife hands over a gift bag, vibrating with joy like she snagged BOGO kale bars from Trader Joe's or something. He opens it and pulls out a mug that says, "For late nights." He looks confused. Late nights? Are we making an appearance on Jimmy Kimmel or something? Did you just get me a second job?
He reaches deeper into the tissue paper treasure chest of destiny, and there it is, the pregnancy test. And every time I watch one of these, I'm waiting for the honest human. No one ever goes, "Whoa, didn't you just pee on this? Ew, you put an actual biohazard into a cup? Christ, this is still warm."
No one throws it to the ground like an old banana peel with a disgusted look. Nope. They hold it up to the light, examining with awe like they just found the Hope Diamond. 15 seconds ago, that thing was in the splash zone. Now we're passing it around like it's a collection plate at a baptism. Anybody got hand sanitizer?
I like it when they say, "Are you kidding me?" Yes, you caught me. I accidentally swapped in a strange woman's pee stick. What? Did you think that was mine?
And there's always a grandma or somebody in the background too grabbing it. Like, let me see. Wow, this is a riot. Let's get the neighbors involved. No, Linda, please, it's been urinated on. Please don't put it on the counter. Meanwhile, proud Papa is holding the thing to his chest, kissing it and waving it around on Instagram like it's the key to the city.
I'm not saying don't celebrate. I'm just wondering if there are any germ-free options for these reveals. I know it's a cliche, but what's wrong with a pair of tiny knitted booties left on the table like a clue in a scavenger hunt?
Helen, I've noticed you've been knitting lately. How about one of those cute little baby on board signs in the bag instead? Give the wee pet a break. Or how about this? Honey, can you check on dinner? He opens it. There's a single dinner roll basking in the oven on warm. I mean, come on, Dad. Use your melon and connect the dots.
Frame the ultrasound. Paint a room pink. Release doves. Light a cannon. Maybe we retire the pea baton in the trash where it belongs. But I guess these reveals will continue to celebrate the miracle of the excretion stick. Hey, if people want to go on social media sniffing pee like it's Chanel number 5, have at it. Next week, we can watch the hilarious footage of rectal temperature checks.
Appalling. Let's play a song. This is FANG with House Wrecking Party. Okay, let's talk about imperfect foods.
Imperfect Foods is a grocery system that sends stuff directly to your door. In fact, you tried they have a new frozen line that I tried this week,
Hmm.
and you had the jalapeno poppers from them
Fantastic.
today.
Yes, they were very good.
We also discovered that dip through them, that spicy mayonnaise. It's really interesting because you'll find stuff there that either you will find in the grocery store or you won't find in the grocery store. In fact, quite a few times we've gone down a path where we had to have more. And the only problem with Imperfect, I would say, is they always have new stock. So sometimes an item might disappear one week, might come back another week. You never know if it's going to be there or not.
Or it might never come back, like the blue cheese puffs. Please bring them back Imperfect. I'm so
Otherwise-
sad.
We're going to be hunting down Betty's
Hmm.
Instagram page.
No, totally.
In fact, this week I tried a pistachio butter.
Yeah,
It was interesting. We thought it was a little sweet on its own, but it worked great in a smoothie.
it sure did. Yep.
You can get produce. You can get bottles of wine. You can get, like I said, frozen stuff now. We also enjoy their meats. In fact, I got a big thing of wings up there to cook up. Lots of good stuff, and it will be delivered directly to your door. And for the frozen stuff, it comes in a separate box with its own packaging so your stuff doesn't fall out.
Mm.
So use our link. It will save you off your first rabbit hole grocery order.
Very good. Okay. It's time. Really good collector base this week. We're going to talk about Armored Saint, Symbol of Salvation from 1991 on a gorgeous swirled brown vinyl.
Armored Saint are a band that should generate more discussion. A group of childhood friends from Los Angeles that came together in the early 80s and did nothing but crank out one kick-ass headbanging platter after another to very little reception. Besides the well-documented story of John Bush turning down a babyface Metallica looking for a singer, the band deserves kudos for their perseverance in the 1980s, playing dive bars in South Dakota in full stage armor. Now that's dedication, folks.
Another interesting aspect of Armored Saint is the fact that they sat right between the factions of hair metal and thrash metal. Almost no other band of that period can say that. They played shows with the likes of Wasp and Rat, but also Metallica and Abattoir. Joey Vera was in a band with Tommy Lee prior to the crew called the Greg Leon Invasion. Dave Mustaine allegedly broke Phil Sandoval's leg in the early dust-up, and Armored Saint were booked on a last-minute tour of Germany with the Scorpions in the late 80s, billed as Tesla. They didn't even have time to change the flyers. I could do this all day, people, but anyway.
The band did sign to a major label for their first album, but sadly, it was the most unmetal label of all time, Chrysalis. Honestly, if you weren't Jethro Tull in the 1970s, your future on this label was in severe doubt. Despite great reviews from sources like Kerrang, the suits at Chrysalis wouldn't fund any tour in Europe, keeping the band on an endless crusade to win over U.S. clubs and festivals. Then the real tragedy stuck when original guitarist Dave Pritchard contracted leukemia in 1990 and passed away at the tender age of 27.
While the death of a talented contributor like Dave Pritchard would have been enough to finish a lesser band, it only seemed to make Armored Saint stronger. Moving back to their original imprint, Metal Blade Records, John Bush and crew put together not only their best album, but one of the classiest, ready for primetime metal records of the decade. Dedicated to the memory of Pritchard, Symbol of Salvation is an hour of world-class American heavy metal, 13 tracks and not a weak spot to be found. Let's hear a little bit of Last Train Home.
Still those voices call my name, but I'm on the last train home. You're the last train home. You're the last train home.
While some of the metal albums of this period sound sterile and overproduced, the performances and songwriting of Symbol resonate perfectly with Dave Jordan's rich, classy engineering approach. Guitars are layered here, there, and everywhere, adding depth and riff muscle to cuts like Warzone and Dropping Like Flies. Gonzo's suave tapping adds clever sheen to the ka-chunka chunks of tribal dance, while Bush's vocals soar to new heights in epic rockers, Tainted Past and Another Day, vaulting and gliding over colorful acoustic segments and crunching power chords.
I've often opined that the Seattle grunge movement was fabricated by the 1% of the American recording industry that they were tired of having to pay Def Leppard $3 million every time they made a video. Hey, these dudes in Seattle will do whatever you want for just a bag of heroin. All kidding aside, the quality of a few hard rock albums from this period show that the genre was not riddled with Kickstart My Heart stupidity or She's My Cherry Pie nonsense. Albums like the Riverdog's Bone, Shotgun Messiah's Violent New Breed, Badlands' Voodoo Highway, and of course this killer of a record were proof that hard rock had evolved into an intelligent, nuanced style of music.
Despite the fact that alt metal, grunge, and Anthrax were waiting just around the corner, the fact remains that Armored Saint crafted one of their true pearls at a time when the band could have just imploded. Still one of my personal favorites. Let's play a clip. This is Another Day.
You want to introduce the interview?
This is our interview with Sammy Town. I knew this was going to be a great interview, and he did not disappoint. What a great guy, and so many good stories. It was certainly was not hard to get him to come up with just memorable tale after memorable tale, and a lot of intel on the new album as well. So enjoy.
Yep, take it away.
Where are you guys?
We're in Baltimore.
Oh,
Yeah.
we are scheduled to be playing in Baltimore.
Nice. Okay, great.
But the date isn't confirmed yet. But I don't know. Did you ever go to Jules's Loft?
I don't think so.
No.
That's a new one. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, well, it's actually a really old one.
Oh, really?
Jules's Loft had shows. Jules is an old kind of like a hippie guy who had a loft in Baltimore in the 80s. And so
Okay.
he had punk rock shows at his loft. And so they're a bunch of the old Baltimore folks are doing a show, kind of setting up a show for him
Oh,
while
cool.
he's still with us.
Okay,
Instead of like waiting to do something for him once he's passed, which so they asked us if we wanted to come out and play, and I said absolutely, because I love Jules's Loft, and I love Baltimore for that matter.
Yeah, I go back a ways too. I remember places like I remember the Seagull Inn and some of those places, but Jules Loft for some reason I'm not remembering it. So
I mean, it was it may have been, he had a couple different ones, but it was probably, I don't know, 82 to 85, maybe
Okay.
something like that. So it
Yeah.
was a ways back there. There was
ways back.
the Marble Bar. Do you remember the Marble Bar was another Baltimore spot? Is that right? The Marble Bar?
I don't think. Yeah, maybe it is before my
Thinking
time.
of the
I'm not
auto
sure.
bar.
Well, there was an auto bar, but I want to say there was the Marble, but now I'm not trusting my own memory either.
Yeah, I always laugh about the auto bar. It's got that one step. It's like really, really big. I'm always like waiting for someone to get
Someone to fall, right?
always like, let's go down the other way.
Yeah.
So we've really been following FANG for a long time. You've existed in multiple areas of the punk chaos scene. Do you feel like at this point you're a time traveler, survivor, or a veteran of the scene?
Time traveler survivor. I would, I guess, probably if I had to choose, I would probably say a veteran. I would say, I don't know. I don't know about time traveler and survivor. I wouldn't say survivor necessarily, because I think that punk rock saved me. So
Right.
I would not be here without punk rock. So I would say, I guess, maybe a veteran of the scene. I'm leery even to say that, because I think that part of what's happened in punk rock in general is, you've got people that are older that are my age, and I think a lot of them has lost touch with the ideas of, or the reasons that we embraced punk rock in the first place.
Yeah.
We talked to Johnny Loftus not too long ago from the Clap, and he's still out there singing about VD, and
Yeah. Yeah.
so that was really encouraging,
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's got like really young bandmates he's planning on kind of training and then passing the torch to when it's time, when he can anymore.
Right, right. I mean, I think that's also important. And I think it's super important to listen to the young bands. If you're still like you were a veteran of the scene, who do you listen to now? Like, is your radio dial current?
Yeah.
Or are you just still listening to the same bands you listened to in 1984?
Right.
There's so much good punk all over the place. Like, Gottlieb, Teen Mortgage. We talked to the Sewer Cats from the UK. Just so many good, really carrying on the tradition in many different ways. So what's more surreal for you now? Seeing kids half your age at shows, or realizing that some of their parents were back there back in the day?
Kids half my age at this point are 30, so they're not even kids anymore. uh so I mean, I guess for me, I really like playing all ages shows because that's where the energy is. Like, I don't want to go and play a show and have everybody just standing around like this in the back of it. It's like that's not fun for me. I really push to, it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder in the US these days, but wherever I can, try and play all ages shows. I would much prefer to play to younger crowds, but also knowing, sometimes we play with a band and there'll be somebody, like one of my peers and their kid, or even, is in the band now, which I think is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Awesome.
really cool.
So what's the most honest reason that keeps driving you to keep creating and producing this great music?
The most honest, every time I've tried to stop, I mean, this is it's very selfish in a lot of ways, but every time I try and stop it, my mental health deteriorates significantly.
That's a good reason. That's a good reason.
I mean, it's a good reason for myself for sure. It's like I said, it's kind of selfish in a way, but when I'm not doing something productive, creative, then I have found that I won't be, or at least I'm not one of those guys that says, okay, this is our last show ever.
Right.
That a lot of my contemporary, a lot of people, it's like, okay, like Kiss had like 1,000 last shows. It's like, I learned a long time ago, don't do that. That I'm not somebody that will say this is our last show ever, because I know, I've learned the hard way that when I stop playing music, that I suffer. And I also think, I mean, I was writing about this the other day. It's almost shocking that we don't have, or maybe I'm not in tune enough, but given the politics, given the unrest in our country at this moment, that it seems like there should be like a really vibrant new counterculture underground happening, and it surprises me that we don't, or if it's happening, I guess I feel like somehow I'm just not in tune, that I'm missing it.
Yeah.
But I think that in some ways, if maybe now even more importantly than in the 80s, or at least, well, probably more importantly than in the 80s, but if you have a voice you need to use it. If you can reach out to people and say something important, then it's now is the time.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true. I mean, we were watching this documentary on Devo and they were talking about the 60s. It almost made me feel better because looking back at everything that was going on then, I was like, okay, we've been this crazy before.
Right.
But you're right, but where's that reaction to it? Maybe it's coming.
I hope it is, and I think, yeah, you look back at history, and uh like even you had the hippies that and even like talk about the 60s, the Vietnam War, and the civil rights movement. I mean, especially today, the civil rights movement, it's a timely topic today. It's still, um and you had a whole lot of people that were really, really standing up against things that were wrong in huge groups, enough that things changed. And I'm not seeing that today. I mean, there are definitely protests. There's definitely things that are there. There is some pushback, but the numbers seem a whole lot smaller you know, given what's going on.
Yeah. Well, I have always wanted to ask this. I finally get to ask the question, who designed that skull and fang logo? Was that you, or who designed the
I
fang logo?
I sat down with this artist friend of ours, Michael Gervin. We were kids, really. I think Michael, I was probably 15 or something, and Gervin was maybe a year older, and he was kind of a local artist that did cool shit. And I had it in my head, we sat down at Sandwiches. It was like kind of like a privately owned Subway sandwich shop in Oakland, and explained to him what I wanted, and he sat there and scribbled it up. And then he did a lot of he used to do custom t-shirts too, but I think if all the skulls like around the land shark insert, he drew all those. And so
Oh,
that
nice.
was like a Michael Gervin. But yeah, it was my concept and his hand,
Right. Okay. And then how far apart from that was We Are Cool, Give Us Money? Where did that come from?
I
That
love
was
that ending.
A Tom Flynn saying. And I don't Tom Flynn's very tongue in cheek like that. He's kind of very cynical. And I I think it's maybe because we were so poor. And so, it's like touring back then, top ramen tours, and we were so broke that, it was like we were begging half the time. I remember being stuck in Cincinnati, Ohio. It was I was 17. I hadn't even turned 18 yet. We were stuck there for like a week, and we were out there like spare changing, to like for food and beer, because we didn't have another show, and we probably just had enough money for gas to get to the next place. And so maybe that's where it came from. I mean, I don't I that's a good question. I'll have to, next time I see Tom, I'll have to ask him, you know what, because that's funny. I never even, like, I
Yeah,
should know
I
that, I
liked it right
guess.
away. It reminded me of like something that like Johnny Rotten would say or something. So you like us? Give us some money. Like it
Yeah.
had that almost British dark vibe about it. Yeah, put your money where your mouth is, kind of thing. So, yeah,
I always just thought it was kind of funny because, like I said, we to me it was very Fang-esque in that a lot of the things we did were like just um the opposite of what we said. Fang was never about money. Like that was never. I mean, obviously it was nice to get paid when we did, but
right.
I think punk rock at that time too was, um, you had stadium bands, you had the whole 70s rock era, and um, where people put musicians, on pedestals, and punk rock was the antithesis of that.
Right.
You'd go see a band, and the guy standing next to you, in the pit is the guy that's about to go on stage and play,
Yeah.
And so to me, that's kind of always what, it was sort of like a joke, what that meant. But I'll have to ask Tom next time I see him.
So you've been covered by a lot of big bands that obviously saw you as an influence. Was there ever a band that covered one of your songs that you were like, oh, I don't even like them?
Oh, that's a good question too. I don't know if anybody's asked me that before. I mean, to me, it's an honor and kind of, like mind blowing that anybody ever does cover us. But I don't know if I've ever had like a horrible reaction. There's definitely been some obscure and bizarre ones, like techno versions and just things that are,
Oh, wow.
just really, far out. But I've never had that reaction that I can remember. I was like, say, oh God, why did they have to cover this?
Yeah.
Well,
We got into punk. We got into punk from looking at, and I was a child of like the 80s, so we're talking like 86, 87. So a lot of when we started getting into punk, it was T-shirts of the bands we liked, and most of them were from your area, like whatever James Hetfield was wearing, or whatever. We got into Attitude Adjustment, and we got into you guys, and we got into, just it was all kind of T-shirt driven because that was how you gauged coolness, right? And I remember going to some shows on the East Coast, thinking, oh well, metal and punk get along because that's how it is in Oakland, or that's how it is in on the West Coast. Not true, and that was a rude awakening for me. I thought it was all peace and love between metal and punk, but it was not in like 86, 87. So
no, I'm sure people would argue this across the globe, but I personally believe that sort of the whole crossover scene started in Oakland.
it seemed that way. It seemed that way. Yeah.
That's because we all partied together. Like I mean, we went to school together. Like us, Exodus, Metallica, Testament, Death Angel. Like we all got speed from Jeff Petty. We all like hung out with Patty Wagon, who was the DJ, and her husband, her and her husband were also drug dealers, and it was like it was a very tight, small scene. And we all knew each other. We all hung out together. But I also know from being in other places that was not the case. Like you said, like metalheads and punk rockers did not get along in a lot of places.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of T-shirts, I remember that one picture of Ruthie had on the FANG shirt, and I hadn't heard you, and I thought, oh, I got to hear these guys because there's the ultimate endorsement right there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that was like Ruthie Zen was it was the epicenter. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it was like we were the house band at Ruthie's End at one point. I mean, it was like, but everybody played there. Slayer, Testament, Suicidal. I mean, and all the punk rock bands too. It's like it was Wes Robinson who booked it. He was an interesting character, and he tapped into stuff that was just going on, and really, I don't know if it wasn't like on purpose, but it was just what was happening. It was definitely what was happening in Berkeley and Oakland at the time. And then incredibly, especially in the metal scene, a lot of those bands, went on to become huge, successful metal bands,
Yeah. But you guys always stayed kind of, you never metalized, you never did like the GBH thing where you kind of went metal for a while. You always stayed true to your sound.
I mean, I guess that's true. I would say we definitely have done things on some of the records that are, like we have Banana Spliff off that one record, which is very much, it's like a FANG's reggae song or whatever, but as far as going, I guess maybe for me, I always felt like I was around a lot of guys that really did that very well.
Okay.
You know, and I had a lot of friends and they really, really did it very well. And so I it would have been, I guess I felt like I would have been hard pressed to be able to pull it off like some of the guys that I hung out with, you know.
Yeah, this guy at a record store completely ruined it for me one day. He said, "Have you ever noticed that when the metal guys go punk, it's good, but when the punk guys try to go metal, it sucks?" And that like ruined it for me. I was like, "Oh my God." And all I could think of was that Discharge album, The Grave New World. I was like, "Oh my God, you're right," you know.
That
So
was probably the best example of the biggest disaster of somebody trying to pull that off for
yeah,
sure.
he like ruined that for me. Totally. Yeah. So typical record store snob guy, you know. So, yeah.
So, what's the story behind the nickname Sammy Town?
So there was a band called Tales of Terror from Sacramento, and they were well, one of my best friends from even like before I was in FANG, he ended up playing guitar for Tales of Terror. He moved up to Sacramento. His name was well, they called him Captain Tripmender. Those guys all were very big on nicknames, but um, they had come. Tales of Terror had played in San Francisco, and after the show, I dosed them all on acid. They were all really fucking high on acid, and we were driving back from San Francisco, and we were in this VW bus, and we were driving through Oakland, and I was like basically more drunk than high, and we're driving down the street in Oakland, and we're driving through this gnarly section of town, and I I I don't know who was driving at the time, but I was like, "Hey, pull over," because there were these two sex workers that were walking down the street on Broadway that were friends of mine that I knew. I'm like, "Hey, that's Shelly." So we pulled over and I'm like, "Shelly, what are you doing?" So they jumped in the van with us. You know, they'd been working all night and I guess things were slow. So they jumped in the van and we went over and we partied with them. And and Tale of Terror at that time were maybe not quite as street as I was. So just like knowing prostitutes that were working on Broadway in the middle of the night and knowing them well enough where they would jump in the van and partying with them, and they went and copped heroin and they were trying to shoot me up, but I was passed out and they thought they were trying to kill me because they were high on acid. So they all started calling Oakland Sammy's town. They're like,
Uh,
"Oh, we're gonna go down to Oakland. You know, like Sammy will get us all fucking completely out of our minds on acid. We'll have a crazy adventure." And so they started calling Oakland Sammy's town, and then that just developed into my nickname. So, they just started calling me that. So it was Tales of Terror's fault. And then it stuck.
okay. Well, I mean, Fang is, you've gone through a lot of lineup changes over the years with all the different records. And I figured, are there certain members that stand out that you're like, boy, it was great to work with that guy, this guy?
Uh, well, I mean, um, I've found that every every incarnation has a slightly different flavor to a degree, and so um, I certainly have appreciated, um, especially different guitar players bringing different things. I will say right now, I live in Tucson right now, and the band's based out of Tucson, and like the drummer Steve that I have right now is one of my favorite drummers I've worked with
Okay.
ever. He's like a really incredible drummer. Um, I also uh, I was in China for a couple months, and so now there's Shanghai Fang. So I went over to China for a few months and worked with musicians over there. They learned the set, and then we toured China and Japan. And uh, the lead guitar player Lou from Shanghai was a great guitar player. He kind of reminded me like if he'd have been born 20 years earlier, he would have been like the epitome of like a Chinese gangster,
Oh wow.
and
Yeah.
but he's like a really, really talented guitar player. Um, you know, I I played with a lot of great musicians over the years. I've been, lucky to have played with some really talented guys, and um, yeah, I don't know if any, like I said, who stands out. I mean, every once in a while, Tom Flynn will come back and play again, which obviously I
Right.
appreciate. And he's sort of always welcome back. Uh, but I had a bass player too, Larry, who was probably one of the most talented musicians I've ever played with. He was like, I never played with a guy who could listen to something once and just go, and he played with his fingers, didn't use a pick, hear it once and go, okay, and just play it
Wow.
flawlessly.
Yeah.
He was, like bizarrely talented.
Yeah. Like what advice would you give, I guess, younger artists that how to deal with lineup changes? Because obviously you've had to do it a lot.
I would say let people be themselves. Like no one plays the same song the same way, and so I think that one of the things that has made my life easier is by letting them be themselves. And it's like, you play this how you feel it. And then uh now given that sometimes with a new lineup change, some songs work better than others. And so being fluid about, I mean, Fang's lucky enough where we have, a pretty a large number of songs that we can sort
Right.
of choose from. And so being able to go, okay, with this lineup, that song just doesn't work that well. But that song works better now with
Yeah.
these
So there's like a
guys.
trade-off. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And so
interesting.
I think being fluid about that and letting people be themselves and bring themselves into it, I think is um if you do that, people are far more willing to put themselves into something.
Interesting.
We were talking about the last year's tour of China and Japan and all, and so many artists have expressed to us that the fans there are so they're so into the music and it's so important to them. Was that your impression of the fans there? And I think I even saw you crowd surfing.
Yeah, well, so Japan, the people really know history. I would say China because it has been more um, regulated in a lot of ways of what information comes in. Um, they are they're less like Japan. People show up, they know, if they're into your band, they know like they're really into your band.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that's the same thing in China, but I will say that China's very hungry,
Because
for
art is a precious commodity, I guess, in China, right? Because they don't have access to it, like
and not that many American bands go and play there,
yeah.
and so we played in Wuhan. The average age of the kids in the audience was like 15. It
Oh
was
wow.
really, really young, and really like they didn't know. I don't think they knew, if they knew any of our songs, maybe they knew I Want to Be on TV because Green Day covered it,
Right. Okay. Yeah.
and so from that, but it's not like they knew our material, but they were very, very hungry for it and super, super excited about
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
and so um, that's why I love playing in places like that, because in America, I find, a lot of the music scene, well, especially like I said earlier, the older music scene, it's jaded.
Yeah.
And so it's not nearly as I don't know, it's not as fun for a musician, at least for me, to play to a bunch of old jaded people than it is to kids, in
Right.
China that are going crazy because they just haven't really been able to see bands like that before.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen any FANG tattoos on any fans where they actually got the
I,
skulls?
I have a whole bunch of them. I always take pictures of them and they're in my phone. And it's funny
Nice.
that you said that because the what is the back you have the screen of the front of the new Fang record.
Guillotine. Right. Okay. Yeah.
The back cover is a collage of a bunch of like a bunch of Fang tattoos I've been taking
Nice.
pictures of over time. So if ever, people show them to me and I when I had a tattoo shop for years and I did a bunch of them at the shop, but yeah, I always take pictures and I always save them. And I'm glad we actually use them, because now I had a bunch and I was, collaged a bunch of them all together for the back of the record.
Were there any bands kind of from back in the day that you thought were gonna blow up that didn't, or the opposite way, you thought they were horrible and then they got popular?
There were, I would say, if the second one is far more, Primus, like I got out of prison and Primus were famous. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
what the fuck happened to the world? I mean, are you
I
kidding
know.
me?
Yeah.
That was
The
a
90s
huge
were
shock.
weird. Yeah.
Huge shocker to me. I was like, okay, never would have
Yeah.
saw that coming in a million years. Well, I was for different reasons. I mean, I love the Butthole Surfers, but also blown away that the Butthole Surfers got famous just because they're called the Butthole Surfers and they're completely out of their minds. But
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
would have seen that coming. I will say that uh, Faith No More, I was surprised at, although they were very talented musicians, but they were, like an early band that I did not expect to see. Sort of like Primus was just more surprising because they were so like just quirky and weird. I'm like, okay, that's the band that got famous. That was a shocker,
That's funny that you say that because I had forgotten about this, but like in the late 80s, I remember we were like, oh, this is the dude from Blind Illusion. This is like his side thing. Like that's how we kind of blew off Primus early on. We liked him, but never occurred to us at all that it would go anywhere. It was just like, yeah,
Right.
this is that weird guy from Blind Illusion, Yeah.
That was a shocker. Like in the punk rock scene, bands that I was surprised became Social Distortion. I was surprised they became as famous and as big as they are.
Yeah.
That has been surprising to me. I'm not surprised that the Dropkick Murphys have gotten as big. Well, maybe I'm surprised they've gotten as big as they are, but when I first saw them, I went to a show to see a band called the Lowdowns. They were a punk rock band in San Francisco, and it was pretty fresh out of the joint. And the Lowdowns were great because they were always a shit show. Like the guitar player and the singer got into a fist fight with each other halfway through the set. I mean, that's why you went to see the Lowdowns, because they were like a shit show. But there was this
Right.
band called the Dropkick Murphys from Boston that was opening up. Never heard of them, but I'm like, oh, these guys are, this is when Mike was singing, it was like early on, and they were really good. And about, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 months later, we were putting a show together up in Sacramento, and the promoter hit me up. He said, hey, this band called the Dropkick Murphys is coming through Sacramento at that time, and they wondered if they could jump on the bill. And I'm like, absolutely. I saw them. They were a great band. And they back then, they were a great band. They toured incessantly. They were like constantly touring and putting the work in. So that was a band when they did like blow up. I was not surprised, because they were really good at what they did, and they really put the work in too.
Yeah. Now I'm a little younger than you. I'm mid-50s, but this is a story. I don't bust this out very often, but I will now. My favorite example of that is I was about 14. I saw the Red Hot Chili Peppers open for the Dead Milkmen in some shit bar. And I remember going, fuck this, bring on the Milkmen. Like I actually said, bring on the Milkmen several times. Fast forward, I mean, who would have thought? I mean, you can't get away from them now. I mean,
No,
I would have never saw that come. So it was like some community college or something. It was terrible.
that sounds about right, because they were playing a lot of. I think the I don't know, maybe the only time I ever saw the Red Hot Chili Peppers was at San Francisco State. Like at
Right?
it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
they were playing, and
Unbelievable.
yeah, I went because one friend of mine, this woman I knew, she had kind of half dated, or was messing around with one of the guys in the band. She's like, "Oh, come on, we're gonna go check out this band, that I'm banging the bass player or the singer
Right.
or something." I'm like, "Okay, fine, we'll go." Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
uh, there was a band, so sort of along the same lines. In the 80s, I was in Salt Lake City, and I was hanging out with a friend of mine, this woman, and she played in this band called Shot in the Dark. It's from Salt Lake City.
Okay.
And she's like, "Hey, I mean, I was staying at her, and she's like, we're playing a show tonight." And it was like an underground club in Salt Lake City, because Salt Lake City was pretty weird. And I'm like, "Cool." So I went to the show, and they played, and this band that I'd never heard of before called Living Color played.
Okay. Yeah.
And they were like fucking mind blowing. I mean, it was like maybe 30, 40 people, in this underground club in Salt Lake City. And uh they were amazing,
That's
like
cool. Yeah.
another band that I when later on I saw them blow up. I'm like, okay, yeah, that didn't surprise me,
Yeah.
because they were
Yeah.
just fucking, it's like, who the fuck are these guys? They were
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
really good.
That's cool. Yeah.
What's some of the weirder venues that you played at that you were just like, whether it be a basement or a meat locker or a laundromat?
I used to say for years, I'd rather play a Kentucky basement than play at Carnegie Hall. I think some of our best shows have been basement shows. Certainly, like that Kentucky basement that we played in, has left an indelible mark. We've definitely done our share of basement shows, living room shows. You know, there's kind of a famous back to Salt Lake City house party that we did. Uh, and What are the weirder venues? Played in like some bizarre warehouse years ago in Philly that had a conveyor belt that you could ride that went from floor to floor.
Oh, cool.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, that was Cosmo, who later he sang for Rancid Vat, and he was kind of and became pretty famous tattoo artist and wrestling MC. Cosmo, he was at that time. He organized that show, and he was singing for a band called Fat Howard's Army, and that was a bizarre one with that conveyor belt. I'm trying to think of what other bizarre. Well, we played. It was us and Verbal Abuse. We played in Chicago. We did this backyard party, and this was only, I don't know, it was probably 20 years ago now, but it literally was in this neighborhood that was completely controlled by the Latin Kings. I don't know,
Oh,
if you
wow.
or
Okay.
if you know the LK, they
Yeah. Yeah.
controlled the neighborhood, and one of the LK dudes was somehow into punk rock, and they had this backyard, and they did these backyard parties, and at the end of this block was the back gate to Cook County Jail.
Okay.
So literally, like, those dudes that were in jail on the backside of Cook County Jail, they were listening to punk rock that night, because
Oh,
there's,
wow.
and And cops drove through that neighborhood, but like on every corner, you had these guys all posted up, and the cops just drove on by. They were not, they were not stopping. It was a very controlled neighborhood, but that was one of the most, I'm like, how do you guys get away, like, how do you guys get away with this? But they ran that neighborhood, and I don't remember
Wow.
who organized it, but they had a connection, and they had these great, there's like, 200 kids just, in a backyard in Chicago. And like I said, just blasting punk rock at fucking, 11 o'clock at night to the back of the jail. So that made me very happy.
Yeah.
So since 2019, you've released 4 albums with great output. What do you credit being able to keep up the momentum and have such a high quality of music?
Wow. Well, that's a good question. I mean, I think a lot of people put out to bring it, but a lot of COVID, everybody put out records during COVID, you know. So I can't really say, like, I mean, what band didn't put out a record or two during COVID? Because we all had a bunch of time on our hands.
Yeah.
So I would say that, maybe I appreciate it, but that I'm sure had a lot to do with it. I think that you know, I've been able to put more time into music the last few years, just because, um I'm sort of at this point semi-retired, so the last job I had, which I was working as a drug and alcohol counselor and a domestic violence counselor here in Arizona for a while. But that was like I only had to work part-time, and so I think that having more time also
Yeah.
to do things, having people also that I play with that are very like McCarthy, my lead guitar player right now, I have a feeling we'll have another record out by, within a year, probably. He's very motivated to write new material, and to get some music out there. So I think that also helps, having people that are motivated to also do that, you know. And right now, having we're on Malt Soda Records again, and Malt Soda started putting out records again, and Scooter is also motivated to put records out. So having a label that is like, yes, let's, like, oh, you got another project, let's do it, let's go.
Is there a connection between Malt Soda and Boner Records somehow? Because it seems like there's
I mean, other than FANG is probably,
wasn't there verbal
their,
abuse on Boner, I thought?
yeah, Scooter put out the Rocks Your Liver record,
Right,
and like reissued that one, and he just put out Verbal Abuse's last, like the Nikki
Okay,
Sicky, Verbal Abuse's last record. So I mean, other than, I guess, because Nikki is he's like one of my best friends, so it's that's an easy one for Scooter to bring on,
Right.
because
Yeah.
it's like, it's like, Sammy, can you call Nikki and see if he wants to do a record? I'm like, yeah, okay. That's
No, that's great. Like Malt Soda is one of those labels that I'm interested in anything they put out, because ever since Rock Your Liver came out, I was hooked, so it's a great record.
yeah, and they did like RKL stuff. I mean, he's got he's got a cool catalog of stuff, and
Yeah.
Scooter had moved to Germany for a number of years and was not really doing a whole lot, and we did a record with Die Laughing, and then No Warning Shots Fired. I just self-released that. I just put that out myself, you know. But then when Scooter like moved back to the US and he's like, hey, I really want to start doing stuff again, we started working together again. And you know, so that, and that's been great, you know.
And again, we're 1,000 or 2,800 miles away from, this was Baltimore when I was growing up. But I remember when Rock Your Liver came out, a couple of my metal friends really liked it. And I had just gotten, what's it, Amiga Sfafas? I'd
Amiga
gotten your album,
Sfafas, yeah.
right? And they were like, what else you got? That's close. And I was like, you won't like this. And they were, no, 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 no. And they were like, the next week, they were like, Puff the Magic Dragon, really? And I was like, I told you, it's not metal. I mean, come on. They're kind of in the same universe, but it's
I
not.
mean, we were all, yeah, we all ran together. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I just talked to Scotty last week because it's going to be the 40th, or maybe it is this 2026, the 40th anniversary of Rock Your Liver.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's a great record.
he's talking about maybe doing something. Scotty and Andy are talking about maybe trying to do something, you know, since it's been
Cool.
40 years since that record came out, you know.
I love the cover for Guillotine. I don't know who chose that green, but it just catches you immediately.
Yeah.
And I love the fact all you had to do was put up that old school scary thing and just you didn't have to put heads flying. That alone is just terrifying. What kind of brought that into your radar?
I mean, the artist who did the album cover, Iffy, she sings for a band called Guilt. Amazing, like, you know, LA punk rock band. Great graphic designer, you know, and I sent her the song Guillotine from the record. I said, here you go, you know, come up with something. And so, you know, she came up with that, and I love the album cover. She did a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
You know,
perfect.
and if you get a chance, go see Guilt. They're a great band. They have a new record coming out here, or maybe it just dropped. If it's not out, it's either about to drop or it just dropped. It's spelled Gylt. Yeah, out of Southern California.
How are you going to do actual acid tabs for the 10-inch? I'm just.
I mean, Scooter found some place that makes blotter. They're just not dipped, so you know you can't.
Ah,
I mean,
okay, right.
you can eat them, but you know they're not going to get you high. You
Exactly.
know,
Right. Yeah.
I was surprised he could find like perf paper that it's probably, I guess it's fairly easy. You know, he somehow found it. I was like, he didn't tell me. He was like, I have a surprise for you, and then he sent me a picture. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I can't fucking believe that. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So I was that whole, like, the back of that record is etched, and I mean there's a lot of stuff that really Scooter put a lot of time into this next release. It's a 10-inch, you know, it's like it's just that are sort of added, I don't know, bonuses that make it extra cool, you know. That I really appreciate that he's gone above and beyond for, you know.
I think somewhere in the archives I have a 7-inch from the Dwarves that's got a fake meth in it or something, I think.
Yeah.
So I know it's a thing. I know it's a thing. So,
You know, and I don't even have one of those yet. I have to get Scooter to send me one so I can frame it and put it up on the wall. You know, it's so good.
Yeah,
Uh,
totally.
when I was young and very much involved in selling acid, I never thought about making FANG acid, probably because I was too afraid to. Like I didn't need that kind of press, but
Right, right.
but in
Yeah.
some ways now I regret it. I'm like, man, that would have been great, you know.
Yeah.
I love Speed Psychosis kicks it off. You actually kind of the music fits kind of that psychosis where you're kind of disoriented and panicked and having hallucinations. Is that something that you personally experienced, or was that something you witnessed other people going through?
I never experienced speed psychosis like that myself. I did a lot of speed, um, but I definitely have seen a lot of my friends go through that. And so I think it was it like I and I think that that is actually more prevalent today than it was back in the 80s. I think that speed is different now. I don't, when we did P2P speed back in the day, nobody was nobody was having that kind of a reaction, and so I think when they got rid of P2P speed and they started making it from various other things, that the newer chemicals created that kind of psychosis. And so now I don't know, it did and we had such a blast making the video, which I don't know if you guys have seen the video
Oh, yeah,
for
we
it,
saw
but
it. Yeah.
it was such a cast of characters. We had Lenny Mental from the Besmirchers, who's the devil, and Texas Terry, who's the angel, and it was just like it was such a shit show, and just a bunch of the local guys. It was I was actually it is so graphic, the video. I was surprised that Instagram and Facebook didn't take it down. You know,
Oh, right. Yeah.
I really did not expect it to actually be able to. So I figured we'd put it up there and that I'd get a notice, your video doesn't meet our community standards,
Right. Right.
and you can't play this. But that so far has not been the case. But that we had a blast making that video. It was pretty fun, especially because, like, I don't know, about more than half of the people involved in that video, they're all like clean and sober. They don't even get high or drink anymore. So it's all these guys that don't even get loaded, and we're all, yeah. So that was kind of funny as well.
That's awesome. I also love the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest at the beginning of Burned Out. Are you a movie enthusiast, or was that quote just too perfect not to use?
I mean, that was McCarthy's idea, but it worked so well. I mean, I love movies. I love that movie. I mean, that was definitely an I don't know. There's something about that movie because it came out when I was pretty young, and so there was something about it. And also, when I was 12, I spent a week locked up in a mental hospital too. So somewhere, I mean, that would have been 77 that I was locked up in a mental hospital, and I was in a mental hospital for adults at 12. I don't know,
Wow.
like I think that the adolescent unit must have been full or something, and so they had to put me somewhere, and so they put me in there. So there's something always a little personal about that movie, at least for me, that I could relate to it, seeing that kind of institution, you know. But that's definitely I think that's a great movie. Um, Today, what movies do I, like, I don't know if I would say I'm a huge movie fan but I mean, I love good movies, you know.
Yeah, I love the ones you can watch over and over and over again. And even though you could probably recite it, you still want to see it again.
Right. Right. I mean, speaking of that one, I did have a friend that was severely depressed and he had to go away. This is like 10 years ago. And he had to get electric shock therapy. And he told me he looked forward to it. It was nothing like what's in that movie. He said, it's come so far. It's so relaxing. It was the high point of my day when they would do it. And I was just like, wow, mind blown. Okay. I would have never thought I would have heard that. He made it sound like it was a spa treatment or something. So,
I mean, I think that there are definitely some. I hopefully, things have changed since then.
yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that it's sort of like the system where um, mental health was treated, as something we kept, like behind closed doors,
Yeah.
and they weren't really trying to cure anybody necessarily. They were all just lab rats that they were, keeping away from the general public.
Right.
And so that, psychology and everything has changed so much in my lifetime,
Yeah.
that
That's a good thing. Yeah.
yeah, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
We're
I mean, it made for some great horror movies, don't get me wrong, but still, right?
yes. definitely makes for good cinematography, but as
Exactly
far as
right.
the reality, and I'm also sure that, there are still places where, it can be horrific,
No.
because you have the human, any place where you have a vulnerable population, i- the chance of, people who've lost their humanity that take advantage of that population, I think is high,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
No, for sure. I almost locked myself in John Hopkins accidentally. My daughter was having anxiety and they had some
Oh.
study going on. So I had her, you had to go to the main campus, and I went to go to the bathroom, went out a wrong door. When I went to go back in, that door was locked, this door was locked. I'm like, my purse is in the waiting room. They're just gonna like not believe
Yeah,
me. They're gonna
that's
be like, yeah, yeah, back to your room.
that's Nightmare City. Like,
You're
sure,
like,
you're
no,
visiting.
really, no,
Right.
for real. I don't belong here. I don't
Oh, I love
belong
that
here.
story. Yeah. Oh.
Like, please don't lock me. Um, I also love the song Alcohol. Were you thinking about one specific drink, or was it more like a love-hate letter to booze in general?
I mean, that's a cover. So that's a Gangrene cover. And so that's definitely a nod to Gangrene. I mean, it's kind of like I said, it's funny that a sober guy sings that song, but I think
Right.
you can take that from both sides. Like I love the song when I was getting drunk, and I love the song, as somebody who doesn't drink anymore. You
Yeah.
know, but I mean, that's such an iconic song. And we actually, so the intro to that, like if you listen to the original, give me a line, give me a line, give me a line, give me a line. That was Chris Doherty from Gangrene that, did that in the original. Well, we found while we were recording that, uh, Chris was in rehab, and uh, we got his number, and we actually got him on the phone while we're in the recording studio. So that's Chris Doherty doing the intro
Oh,
from
nice.
rehab that we then, like had a mic up to the phone and taped, which to me it was like that was one of the coolest things that, as far being in a band, that I've ever been able to experience. Because I mean, Gangrene were, they were a great band, and people know that song. I love playing that song, and the fact that we got Chris over the phone doing the intro, he was so cool about it. He's been really great about it. So I really appreciate that.
Did you use a stock burp, or did you have a burper on command?
That was McCarthy, the guitar player. He, he was the burper.
I wanted to ask you, this goes back a little bit. So when you put out Pissed Off Buddha, you did it as a 3 CD with Spun Helga and Migas Fafas, right?
Yeah.
But not American Nightmare. And I was just wondering why I've always wondered, why did you do it that way? And like what happened with those, I guess, 4 albums in a row.
So Pissed Off Buddha was actually recorded in 1988.
Okay.
And so uh it that it was supposed to come out on Boner Records. At the time I was, even recording it, the vocals and everything, I was a mess, and that was close to when I caught my case. So everything kind of fell apart, and that record just went into the can, so to speak.
Okay, yeah.
So years later, I get out of prison, and Tom, like he's like, look, uh, here you go. If here's the tapes for Pissed Off Buddha. If you ever want to do anything with it, go ahead. Here it is. It's yours. It took us some time before it took me some time, and I wanted to, when Fang fell apart at that point, the vocals were not great. It was never really mixed. My plan had always kind of been to go back and rework rework it. But
Yeah.
in the sort of in the turmoil over the years, I I lost one of the reels. So this was all recorded on 2-inch, and so I didn't have the whole record
Oh, okay. Yeah.
on reel. But there was a guy named John who was like a huge FANG fan, and he had uh, a I I don't know if it was a cassette tape, probably actually, that we taken off the board with the whole record on it.
Okay.
And so that's what we used to finally come back later on, years later, and put out Pissed Off
Wow.
Buddha. There have been times when it's like I've really wanted to go back in and re-record some of those songs. And one of the songs off that record is called Desperate Times. And that was I built this whole other band called the Resistoleros around that one song from that recording session. It was like very sort of punk rock and roll, in
Okay.
the vein of like Electric Frankenstein, or I don't know who well, there was a lot of bands that were in that genre, Glucifer, and so the Resistoleros, we did re-record that song, and that was like the record that we put out. It was the just sort of like everything on that record. It's like that was like, this is what the kind of music it's going to be, you know. Um, but I I really do wish I had been able to go back in, redo the vocals on that record, and remix the whole thing and put it out, because I think it would have been a much stronger record if I'd have been able to do that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. On this current album, which is really, really strong, I really also liked the kind of crazy Twilight Zone off-kilter dissidence, which I thought was super different at the beginning and end of No Place to Call Home. It almost sounds a little bit like a cat walking on a piano. What inspired that intro, and how did you achieve that effect?
So there's a local musician here in Tucson, Hank Topless, and I could just, when we were working on that song, I could hear a piano, in my head, and so we I sent Hank, his name's Tim, but I sent Hank Topless the music, and I said, can you come up with a piano intro? And so he just came up with it, and I'm like, okay, that's perfect, because it works so well. And then we added it to the back end too. But sometimes, in writing a song or working on a song, I'll just hear something and then try and find somebody that can do that for it, and that was definitely a situation like that. That song in general, it's in some ways very personal to me. Well, it's not, it's in some ways it's very personal, but um, when I was 4, we were living in Iowa. We moved to Iowa for a year before we moved back to Berkeley. And my room in the house in Iowa, you had to go down into the basement and up into this little cubby hole where, like, and it was very, it was a gnarly place for a 4-year-old kid, to be put in this, like, sort of just, like through the basement in this back, like, corner, very much away from the rest of the family, and it was scary, down there, and it was punishing down there, and so I think that that song is about that 4-year-old kid's, that fears and experience down in this basement room, is where that song came from.
Kind of like Harry Potter in the cupboard under the stairs.
It is kind of, yeah, it was like that, very much so. I remember too, like at one point, um, the it had those dormer windows which are really low to the ground, because I was down below ground in this basement, and one of the windows had been left open, and there was a huge rainstorm. So I woke up, and the basement was flooded. So to get to the stairway from where my little cubby hole was, I had to like swim
Oh, wow.
across the basement to
Wow.
get to the stairs. So it was pretty rough living for a little kid, back then. But yeah, there's definitely, obviously left an impression, and so that's,
Yeah.
the sort of feelings in that song are from the feelings of the child that still remembers all that.
Yeah.
God, that's not a good morning. That's a sink or swim morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Do we do our game?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, we play a game on the show. So
Okay.
it's called 5 Random Questions with Stace. That's me. So I have 100 questions before me. So I want you to pick 5 numbers that will correspond to questions that you'll answer.
All right. Let's go with I got to do 5 in a row. So let's go with 9, 23, and this is to 100, right?
Yes.
Okay. 9, 23, 99. What else? Let's see. That's 3. 26, and I don't know. 79.
Good ones. Number 9. If you only had to eat one type of snack forever, what would it be?
Payday candy bars. That's an easy.
Oh, it's
That was
one.
easy.
Yeah, those are some good ones. I used to love getting those in my Halloween stash because my mom never got those
Yeah.
for me.
I might have a problem, like pay.
All right. So you got 23. Have you ever tripped in public or on stage and had to kind of play it off like you meant to do that?
Yeah. Yes. I think it happened like 2 nights ago when I went to see the movies. I went to the movies. Yeah, many, many times. On stage, yeah. I don't even know if I don't know if I say I try and play it off, because at this point it's like, okay, whatever. But what are you gonna do?
At least you didn't fall off the stage. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
99. Would you say today your glass is half full or half empty?
I would say half full. Absolutely. I think I am incredibly lucky that I'm still alive. And that I often say I have a life I don't deserve.
Good way to look at things. And you picked 26. If you could instantly become a professional in any sport, what would you pick?
I hate sports.
Great answer.
Is that a good enough answer? Can I just
That's a good one. That's why that's the punk rock answer. I like it.
Yeah.
Freaking jocks. I hate them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Who needs them? And you picked 79. What would your version of a lazy day look like?
What would my version of a lazy day look like? Oh God, I don't know. Get up. Annalise and I would go out and have breakfast somewhere, kick back in the backyard, play with the dogs. Maybe watch some British crime TV shows.
Ooh.
Yeah. That'd
that's
probably be,
good.
yeah.
We love crime TV shows. We watch them all the time.
Yeah, we do.
We got addicted to this one. It's like called Fear Thy Neighbor. It's all about like when your neighbor gets in so mad about property lines or barbecues, they end up like,
Loud music.
yeah, it's crazy. when
Someone
people
always
get upset
gets
about it.
murdered. Like
Must be fear your neighbor.
neighbors
Yes.
murdering each other over like stuff like that. Yeah.
Like what is it? Was it like a true crime
Yeah.
series? Or-
Yeah,
Oh, wild.
And it kind of builds up. Like it always starts with, all right, they moved in and we all got along for a while. And then, he put up a shed or, and then it just goes downhill from there.
It's like,
And it
Right,
always
and
ends in actual murder. I had no idea that so many neighbors killed each other over shit like that, Crazy.
this must be an American TV show too.
Yeah, oh
It's
yeah,
gotta
very
be.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's like literally he's barbecuing in front of his kids. The guy walks in his yard and just shoots him.
Oh, Jesus. In
That's
front of
how
his
it had
kid.
escalated. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. So
she put sand in my koi pond. No,
there's a new
I
one
don't-
called Fear Thy Roommate. We haven't started that one yet, but it's from the same people. So I'm hopeful that it's going to be just as
That
good.
it is as intense and
Because we all have roommate stories, right? So, yeah.
I know. I was just trying to think of a good like roommate story. God, I don't know. Probably I was the roommate in the roommate stories.
And it looks
Okay.
you have some shows coming up. Any idea of what a set list might look like? Or are you going to do old stuff, new stuff, mix?
I mean, we always mix it up. Certainly, we have some stuff coming up. Like I said, I just started talking to some people about playing at Baltimore, so I don't
Yeah.
know exactly, but that I believe will be sometime July, August.
Oh, it's perfect for us.
So that's coming up. We have a show that we're trying to work out. I don't know. You guys know the band Flipper?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we're playing. There's a club in San Francisco called the Mabuhay Gardens, which is like an iconic old 70s or early 80s club in San Francisco, and they've just reopened them on Broadway. And so we're supposed to be playing a show with Flipper at the Mabuhay on Broadway, February 28th, I think, is happening. Oh, they're doing Punk Rock Rodeo, which is a big 2-day festival in San Diego, and that's March 20th and 21st in San Diego. There's a lot of bands: Fear, The Freeze, us, Battalion of Saints are playing. A bunch
awesome.
of old school bands in San Diego. I really look forward to that. I'll definitely be going back to China in October, and we're doing me and the guys from China that played with me. We're doing a tour in Southeast Asia in October with my friend's band from China, Round Eye. And so that's stuff that's coming up. And this is still some years out, but since I have the time, I've been writing a book. It's probably another 2 years out, but I've been consistently working on that I've been working on it for about 2 years now. So
That's great.
Awesome.
at some point that will be out as well.
Well, we look forward to
So-
that, and definitely let us know about Baltimore, because that's a good time for us, because we got Maryland Death Fest in May and then Doom Fest in June. So that's July's perfect.
And we
Yeah.
played Maryland Death Fest one year. I don't know if you guys knew that FANG played Maryland Death Fest, which
That's
was kind of
great.
wild that they had us play. That was a blast, actually. I loved doing that, So, but yeah,
And
I will let you know about where and when the show is in Baltimore.
That's
sure.
awesome.
And I really appreciate you guys asking me to come on.
Oh, we love you.
One last question. So, what is Fang's Ace of Spades? What song is it? Is it Diary of a Mad Werewolf? Is it Money Will Roll Right In? What song has to be played, or you just think you're cheating the masses, type of thing?
We always play the Money Will Roll, right?
Okay.
I mean, that would be our Ace of Spades, I guess, for sure. That's our probably best well-known song, I would say, and it's always on the set list. And probably always will. Well, it always will be.
And again, ironic, like you said, Fang not a money band, but there it is again. See, so
Oh,
it's right at the
right.
core.
Yes, yeah. FANG has
Cool.
cost me far much more money than I've ever made from the band. So, I mean, that.
Falling on deaf ears.
Circulate.
Okay. Deaf ears one.
This is Gutterblood. Good dogs will never die. Gutterblood is a derogatory Scottish term used to describe someone of low birth or inferior breeding. I wasn't familiar with it at first, but the definition immediately brought to mind the invented slur in Harry Potter. In that world, mudblood literally means dirty blood, an insult aimed at witches and wizards born to non-magical parents. The word is designed to reduce a person to lineage and declare them lesser. Likewise, Gutterblood's lyrics repeatedly expose how power operates through labels. Once someone is marked as inferior, immoral, criminal, or disposal, the system feels justified in treating them that way. The band's anger is aimed point blank at that machinery of dehumanization. Whether you grasp that dynamic through Diagon Alley or the streets of Glasgow, it is the current running beneath this third EP. Across 6 tightly coiled tracks in the 3 to 5 minute range, this fluid Scottish trio, bolstered by shifting members and guest collaborators, delivers songs that could sit comfortably alongside the noise rock bruisers of Amphetamine Reptile Records.
A soliloquy is a moment of confession, a character alone on stage speaking their truest thoughts into the air. On soliloquy, Gutterblood lets the instruments do the talking. This doom-paced track opens with the bass of Andy McVannon carrying the melody, deliberate and heavy, accented by slow kick drum strikes of Adam Walker. The bass notes lumber forward like an inebriated Andre the Giant, taking 3 massive steps, wobbling, regaining balance, then repeating the motion. It is hypnotic and sticks in your head, resurfacing in your brain later when it's quiet. The guitar of Dave Connolly swells in, sawing and gnawing, with a warped quality to it, circling like wind beginning to rise before a storm. Then the song tightens, more frantic notes layer in, buzzing like a hive mind in a panic. The drums accelerate, the din thickens, cymbals fire off in sharp flashes. A single shimmering guitar line stretches outward, trembling. The drums slow, the bass resumes in haunted walk. This time synths flicker in the mix, blipping and shooting like comets, each leaving a glowing trail behind them. Beneath it all, faint whispers hover in the back of the soundscape. Rapid word shapes tumbling over one another, indistinct but urgent. The bass line still stalks us. Everything dissolves except for piercing feedback, lace synth shrieks that slice through the mix. One breathy line becomes clear: good dogs will never die.
Vocalist Tom McFadden describes The Great Escape as a tale of 2 halves. The first is a ramble through his frustrations with modern decay. The second is a full-throated political rant aimed at those, particularly in the west of Scotland, who cling to deep-rooted sectarian loyalties. He even pokes the bear with the question that has started bar brawls since 1985. Who did shoot Willie McRae? Invoking the lingering mystery, crisscrossed with many strings of conspiracy theories. The guitars whir like an industrial reciprocating saw. The drums settle in a mid-paced throb, while the bass dances with an almost waltzing indifference to whatever the saw is tearing through. Then the guitar drops out. The drums simmer. Tom steps forward, speaking rather than singing, his Scottish cadence carrying the lines with a pointed clarity. I'd legalize the green. I'll trust a plant over a screen. Digitals or digital Alice, bring back Steve McQueen.
The accent is rolling and alluring. That Highland lilt, forever branded into pop culture by Outlander, still makes me want someone to call me Sassenach, even though here the lyrics are barbed. Perhaps the shadow of the Battle of Culloden and the Jacobite uprising still lingers. At any rate, McVannon's bass struts underneath with a deep-booted swagger. Between verses, the guitar saw sputters back to life, hungrily chewing while the drums briefly flare into a tight rolling squall. As the track closes, the din swells again. Amid the noise, faint trumpet-like tones seem to emerge somewhere in the layers. Another standout is Blue Flash Fantastic. In a nutshell, it tells the story of a mother with no safety net, forced into selling sex to feed her child, only to end up in jail. By the end, the questions hang in the air. Who is immoral? The officer enforcing the law? The desperate parent? Or the systems that failed her? The guitars from Connolly flicker low and distorted, whipping back and forth like an oscillating fan. The spoken word trade-off between Bonnie Prince Bob and Tom McFadden stands exposed in the spotlight, each phrase punctuated by quick drum cracks and riff smashes that feel a little beatnik.
Let's play a clip. This is Blue Flash Fantastic.
Cowpaw, if the lady goes out, she's totally fucked. She's by herself, nobody to trust. The lights flicker, the telly goes black. She lights a candle, wraps her beam tight, on with her stockings, and into the night.
50 quid later, good sweat prophylactic, blue flash fantastic, she got the cash, she left the baby with a rash, the silence falls.
Then McVan's bass begins to drip out rising note runs, bleak and forbidding. Synth bleeps squeak and squawk like an early 80s arcade game. The drums pivot into a surf-tinged pattern, 2 sharp snare strikes and a hi-hat exclamation point, while the guitars turn out crooked, off-kilter jangles. Under the verses, that skittish drum patter keeps twitching as the guitar line stretches and bends at strange angles. The vocals are spat in clipped phrases, sometimes overlapping, crowding each other in the mix. The lights flicker, the telly goes black. She lights a candle, wraps the baron tight, on with her stockings and into the night. The guitar suddenly drops out, then resumes its low moan, which makes it feel even more ominous when it returns. The rising bass notes reprise, setting off shrieking alarm-like synth squeals that flare up like a car alarm that no one will quiet. The guitar circles a handful of uneasy notes until Lindsay Day steps forward as the mother, delivering her defense. "You've abandoned me. I had to do it for my family." My favorite is the opening track 24, written by Bonnie Prince Bob about Mamama Gerarda, a 24-year-old Palestinian graphics design student and artist from Gaza who was killed in an airstrike. Naming one individual makes it feel so personal, puts a face to the headline. I kept staring at that glowing 24 on my car stereo while it played. 24 hours in a day, 1 full rotation of the earth. That is all a day gets. In years, that is all she got. It reeks of injustice. The track opens with squirming, oozing synth tones and contorted guitar strums that coil in on themselves, a nightmarish scape. Guest vocalist Lindsay Day has said that she tried to channel her own maternal instincts into the grief a mother would feel losing a child to an Israeli bomb. She delivers a death wail that hovers like a ghost of Christmas past, nearly swallowed by the droning guitar, kick drum taps, and spoken word fragments over it. A tense drum roll sets the stage. Then Bob's voice rings out alone, stating the victim's name and age. It already feels like a mantra. When the track opens up, jangling guitars locking with drums that tick like a metronome with attitude.
A shimmering synth line threads through it, and the bass pulses with a club-ready feel that recalls the anxious propulsion of model actors. The vocals layer into a chant, clipped words dropping in quick succession. Lindsay's cries of anguish ghosting in and out. The bass solo bumps with urgency of Golden Earring's Twilight Zone, with little metallic scrapes blipping in. As the repetition of her name and 24 over that groove, adding a droning guitar, it all feels like a ticking clock. Tick-tock, time is running out. The drums accelerate, snare strikes pushing faster and faster until the dance groove snaps back in, this time warped with eerie slide-outs that drag at the ends of phrases. Gutterblood blends noise, punk, indie, doom, and post-rock as seamlessly as they wear their politics on their sleeves. The theme embedded in the band's very name of who gets labeled and who becomes disposable lies somewhere in each track. In 24, it's the not letting life be flattened into a statistic. In Blue Flash Fantastic, it's a woman branded a criminal instead of seen as a mother in crisis. In The Great Escape, it is inherited prejudice doing the judging. Much like the wizarding world of Harry Potter, it's darker forces that profit most from these labels. Gutterblood's music exposes that ghost in the machine, and with just enough groove to make sure you keep thinking as you dance. Let's play a little of 24.
Artistic, and she was creative, and she was studying graphic design.
Okay, for Deaf Ears 2, we're going to do something a little bit different. This is the new expanded version of Hyperyouth by Joey Valence and Brae, Afterparty. Shut yo mouth and listen, because we about to bust an algorithm. A barcode, a download, a fork in the road while season 4 slaps 35 episodes. You
Know it.
laugh, we're short staffed, a sick phonograph stays bringing home the time and a half.
You think you a player with your gangster keystrokes. We got more jokes than Phelps got backstroke.
Say what, say what?
You truffling, you whining, you want an entree? Bitch, check out the new Joey, Valence, and Brae.
Don't hate the fools because they signed to a major, scrolling your brick like some punk-ass teenager. This one hits like a lethal haymaker, hitting the walls in a neon windbreaker.
20 songs now and it's over an hour. Crushed like the Dukes of Hazzard horsepower.
Property Lee, bitch.
A shower, a flower, a kilowatt hour.
Sounds like lightning hit the clock tower.
JPEG Mafia contribution. Skill Rex baby noise pollution. Bit crush synths and evolution. Sensitive lyrics avoid prosecution.
I ain't going back. Complain to your mama when she tries to Snapchat. Will you crush on the dance floor or question the format? Still fist fights, still Pepsi, still ready for combat.
The boys ain't.
Make sure you check out Bitch, Where Your Friends At. So JVB still got some sick beats, and this preaches they ain't gotta repeat. Even though we can't afford the box seats, go hard or hit Control-Alt-Delete.
Nailed it.
Boom. Let's hear a little.
Where your friends at? Where your friends at? Bitch, where your friends at? Where your friends at? Bitch, where your friends at? Where your friends at? Bitch, where your friends at? JVB on TLP, get kicked up in the B&B. iPhone stuck on D&D while me and JV playing DVDs. Evil of them on the big TV. Robbing big on MTV. You sucker MCs really envy me. You wanna be like Brae? I got sauce, I got dough. My bankroll like a sushi roll. Easy pass, don't pay the tolls. You 4'2", looking like a troll.
Not sure what all that was, but anyway. Deaf Ears 3 is the new album from Hällas, Panorama. East Coast hip hop, now we move to Camelot, Prague. Hällas are a Swedish five-piece whose style falls somewhere between ELO and Shakespeare in the Park. This is music that will make your local D&D nerds look like Kerouac enthusiasts. It ticks all the boxes, a sidelong epic, treacherous tyrant, Swedish names with 100 umlauts, and an album cover that looks like a collision between Roger Dean and the Hypnosis era 72. The band's sound is tight and polished, some songs fusing into playful guitar harmonies, while others boast French horns and violas. There's got to be a guy dressed like a tomato that comes out during this drum solo, right? I mean, come on.
I'd be remiss if I didn't kick this off with the first single, Face of an Angel, a track that falls somewhere between Gary Glitter and The Lady of the Lake. The vibe is undeniably retro, but the hooks are incredibly sharp. The sparse lyrics are playful, critical, airy, and that chorus, Face of an Angel with the Devil's Blood, is pure Haagen-Dazs for the brain. The perfect soundtrack for a jousting tournament or for shopping for exotic girdles. This is the music puffy shirts were made for.
Strike that first.
Let's play a clip, Face of an Angel. The 22-plus minute opener, Above the Continuum, kicks off with strange augmentation of galloping guitar and disco-flavored synthesizers. Of course, in classic prog fashion, it goes through a multitude of tempo changes and dramatic instrumental shifts, like 4 to 5 songs woven together. It settles into a heap-friendly pulse around the 5-minute mark, which may be the strongest section of the epic. There are several more tempo shifts, some dramatic, ranging from orchestral-sounding fanfares to multivocal panoramas and everything in between.
The 6+ minute closer, At the Summit, is interesting, showing yet another side of this diverse band with a nimble acoustic intro that advances into ELP-friendly keys and then a confident gallop with huge vocal hooks on display from vocalist Tommy Alexanderson that bobs and weaves with bubbling guitar harmonies and grandiose Wakeman-adjacent organ runs. These guys have been at this for years, and it shows. Their music combines prog, pop, a little metal, and all of it's done with flash and hummable hooks. Those of you that drink dark meads out of steel chalices and boast a collection of sequin capes for your daily commute, best get over to their Bandcamp page and check them out before this afternoon's witch burning. Let's play a clip. This is At the Summit. Okay, we stretched a little for this one, didn't we? We were all over the map. All over the map.
So much good out there, and we bring it all to you from crazy yacht rock, Swedish yacht rock. Who would have thought it? This has been the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast. Special thanks to Sammy from FANG for appearing on the show. Snaggletooth theme courtesy of Jens Kemgren of the Firebombs. Deaf Ears theme by Tim Green of the Fucking Champs. Season 4 artwork courtesy of KC Angel. You can find him on Instagram at KC Angel Art. Deaf Ears bands include Joey Valence and Brae, Gutterblood, and Hällas. All content 2026, the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.
On the box set only, bitch, where your fish at?
This is the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.
Where your friends at?
Where's Kyle? Where's Connor? Where's Austin? Where's Lucas? Where's Jason? He's probably trying to shake it.
Where's Kaya? Where's Fifi? Where's Lizzie? Where's Ashley? They be on the floor and they feeling real sassy. I wanna see you shake. I wanna see you drop. Shake it to the floor.